What if there are things that are quietly hurting us in our everyday life, keeping us sick and tired and burned out and toe up from the floor up? It happens to all of us. So come on in and we'll talk about it. I am dressed for success up top, but I want you to know that I still have on my pajama pants because it is a cozy day here on the mountain, and any cozy day that I can get in summer, I will take. And we are going to talk about the 7 things that you should never do again. Now, when I say never do these things again, obviously, we're all going to struggle with things. It's about aiming to improve in these areas, to make better choices, to take the little steps, to aim at the center of the target. I don't want you to think of this as a checklist of things to do. I want us to really try to approach these subjects from a positioning of love and gratitude. The days right now are loud, and many of our minds are heavy. We weren't made for this much input, this much noise, this much pressure to keep up and keep going. If you're feeling weary, not just tired in your body, but tired in your soul, you are not alone. In a world built to distract, sometimes healing begins not by doing more, but by quietly choosing less. Less of what hurts, less of what drains, less of what pulls us away from the peace we were made for. You don't have to fix everything today. You don't have to do it all perfectly. You don't need more guilt. You need more grace and small steps that move you towards wholeness. Even one change matters, friends. One gentle shift. One moment of saying, I'm ready to start stewarding my life with love. And maybe even saying, I'm ready to start taking the advice that I would give to somebody I truly cared for. It's amazing how we often speak to ourselves in a way that we would never speak to other people. And we don't receive the advice that we would give to a loved one or a friend. And so this encouragement today is not to beat anyone up. It's to get you to see some of the things that might be quietly hurting you in your daily life, and to begin to feel like you're worth taking the little shifts and steps in the right direction. To begin to see yourself as someone worth loving, worth rebuilding, someone made in the image of God. The truth is, we're not called to just survive this life. We're called to steward it, to tend our bodies like temples, to guard our minds like gates, to feed our souls like gardens. I love a chunky knit blanket. I will say this with my last breath. I want good for you. I want you to thrive. My heart on this is really summed up in the scripture that says, Beloved, in all ways I pray that you would prosper and be in good health as your soul prospers in God. That is what I want for you. I love to see other people heal and thrive and become everything that God has made them to be. So, number 1, our world happens to be flooded with endocrine disruptors. This is something that I had not realized, I had not thought about. I grew up in the era of the body spray, the body splash, and you know what I'm talking about. If you grew up in that era, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A little cucumber melon. I did not realize that our environment slowly but surely over the last couple of decades was being filled with what's called endocrine disruptors. Okay, these are things that disrupt and affect your hormonal system. And let me tell you, friend, when your hormonal system is disrupted, all sorts of crazy things can happen. This can truly be everything from hormone-related illnesses to how we feel internally. Our mood, not only our mood, but I know this is controversial, but how we feel about our femininity or our masculinity. It can have effect on all of those things. There are certain ingredients that have more of an effect than other things, and I recognize fully that not everyone is in a place, especially today, to be able to afford the cleanest stuff. But if we can start to train our brain to recognize some of the 5 main ingredients, or the 5 main culprits of endocrine disruptors that appear in so many household and beauty products, then we can start to know what we're looking at and find cleaner, less toxic options. And it's okay if you can't get the cleanest thing. Don't listen to the cultiness of, if you can't do the whole thing, don't do it at all. I don't agree with that in the slightest. Just taking out one bad ingredient is a step in the very right direction. But these ingredients over time age the body more rapidly, both internally and externally, and they can contribute to some much more serious illnesses, not going to say the word, but much more serious illnesses in the future. Number 2 is nutrient-empty diets. I think this is having more of a profound effect on people than anyone could possibly begin to fathom. And some of this isn't even our fault. Our soil today is very deplete in minerals, and a lot of the food today, in turn, especially stuff that's made in laboratories, is just deplete in minerals and vitamins, and people are really, really feeling it. I've had multiple people that I've been walking beside them in their healing journey, and they just couldn't figure out what was wrong with them. They were having these certain symptoms, and it was going on and on and on, and this is not always the case. Sometimes it's much more complex than this, but I have had a few people that didn't realize that they were just severely depleted in something like magnesium or iron or potassium. The amount of people that have gone through my 30-day reset, done the Healing Era course, purchased my Fully Nourished digital cookbook, and come back to me and said, I feel so different. This is the first time that I have felt this little glimmer of hope, and such a big chunk of it, yes, some of it is about taking the bad stuff out, but so much of it is focused on becoming fully nourished, a fully nourished person. Because if we're just focused on taking stuff out and we don't focus on becoming fully nourished, we kind of just feel empty. And that's why diets often do not work. And a lot of this was my story. I had to take out the stuff that I didn't realize was literally poisoning my body. And then I had to add in foods that were really dense in nutrients and get an understanding of how deplete our body is today. And it truly is life-changing. The way that I approach this fully nourished approach, where I say no shenanigans, no crash dieting, no harsh detoxes, this changes people's lives forever, because people start having this relationship with their body that is based on love. Am I loving the body that God has given me when I consume this? Instead of, I have to punish myself and not eat this thing and deplete myself. It's not based on punishment. It's based on, is this an act of love or not? And that's just something everybody has to contend with themselves. I'm not here to police you, your diet, or your life, but I am telling you that becoming fully nourished and taking out the empty things that are hurting you, that are not doing you any favors, that are setting you up for long-term problems is life-changing, and I want that for you so very much. Number 3 is giving all of our attention to things that steal eternal focus. This one is hard because the world is just chock full of distractions, and they are everywhere. I always say that the enemy likes to use the 3 Ds: deceive, distract, discourage. And he will use these 3 things in tandem, and it is so real. He uses discouragement to keep us from our calling. He uses distraction to keep us from the truth. And he uses deception to keep everyone's eyes on the wrong things. And that's why it's so critical to be anchored in the Word of God. That is our number 1 biggest defense and offense against all 3 of these things, against distraction, discouragement, and deception. We are all going to fall prey to focusing on things that lack eternal focus. Listen, I like a rabbit hole more than anyone because I like to research and I like information, but sometimes I'll come up for air and I'm like, okay, Lee, that was an hour of life that you can't get back. I think it's good to be aware, but I think it's also good to know when to say, okay, pause. I need to go, I need to pray, I need to read the Word of God, I need to go sit under a tree, sit by a creek, go sit by a pond and watch the geese go by. I need to pause here, and I need to remember that in the light of all these things, that there's eternity to focus on, to plant my eyes on, to plant my heart in. Number 4, relationships that drain your peace and constantly overstep your boundaries. Yes, now there are certain people in life that are harder to get away from than others, and we should attempt to live peaceably with all people as far as it depends on us. That being said, boundaries are also biblical. They are, and they're good. When Jesus had quite enough of everyone clawing and pawing at him, he would go off in the quiet to a mountaintop, and he would pray and sit in quiet. I used to be so unbelievably guilty of this. This has taken me years and years and years, and part of it was just a heart of compassion. Part of it was trying to believe the best about people. But as life happens, you realize that not everybody loves you the way you love them. Not everybody has the intention towards you that you have towards them. And it's okay to continue to love someone and put distance. It's okay to continue to love someone and have boundaries. It's okay to continue to love someone and want the best for them and pray for them and not allow them to continue to drain your peace. I know. And a lot of these things are hard, and it can't happen overnight. Some of them can, and some of it takes time. Number 5, oh boy, trends that erase our God-given beauty. And is that not a big thing? Is that not a big thing? And listen, this is coming from the chief of sinners, okay? This is coming from somebody who was in the belly of the beast, who the Lord has radically delivered from the spirit of vanity. Okay? And a lot of these trends are very much geared towards women. And I've heard this sentiment recently where people are saying that women are starting to look like they're cut and paste. And I'm not saying this to shame anyone, to hurt anyone's feelings, that women are starting to look copy-paste. And there are two extremes, and I know this is controversial, but there are trends out here on these platforms that are encouraging people to not take care of themselves at all. To not be concerned at all with honoring their body. And then there are trends on the other end where you constantly need to be changing something about yourself in an artificial way. And then the trend shifts and you're stuck with something that they said was completely safe and turns out not so much. And that happens all the time. God made you in his image. God crafted you. And there's something about you that is beautiful to the eye of someone else. And all of these trends that are trying to ultimately get you to just overconsume. It's all about money and power and greed. They don't really care about you at all. That are trying to get us to erase God-given beauty and create a copy-paste system. Number 6 thing to aim to stop doing is using words over and over again that speak DEATH over your life, your future, and your body. Cut it out. Again, I had a problem with this. I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm a problem. The power of life and death is in the what? The tongue. And those that love it will eat the fruit thereof. Oof, the Bible has a lot to say about the words we speak. They matter and they're important. Tell me honestly that there are not things that you say to yourself over and over and over again that you would never dare say to someone else. And you could say I'm taking it too seriously. That's okay. I get that. But just bear with me for a second. Stuff like, I could just die. I am dying. I shall not die but live and declare the works of the Lord. Did any of you have anyone say to you when you were younger, you'll never change. You're always up to no good. These are not things that I recommend we speak over ourselves or our children or other people. How about when we see something funny and we say, I'm weak? Or we say, that makes me sick. Not today, Satan. Or you go to the doctor and they tell you such and such is incurable. Or this is just always how it's gonna be. I always, we always, you always. Do not always. People make oaths in the spiritual realm when they're trying to get somebody else to believe what they're saying. I swear to. I highly recommend that you do not do that anymore. Oaths are very, very serious in the spiritual realm. Do not swear to anything on earth or in heaven. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Do not be hasty to speak. It is better, friends, to be silent than to be hasty to speak. And I was a very hasty person to speak. And I sure have learned sometimes the hard way over the years. And now I am much more careful. What I am about to say, am I blessing with my mouth or am I cursing with my mouth? And the last one is continuing to ignore the body's signals. I talk about in my Healing Era course that symptoms are not a punishment. Symptoms are the body's way of sending you a signal because the body wants to heal. So if you are having anxiety, that is a signal. If you're having pain, that is a signal because there's built-in mechanisms in your body where the body is designed to heal itself. And when the body is trying to heal itself and there is an imbalance, there's a dysfunction, there's something going on, the body will send you a signal out of wanting to survive, out of wanting you to get better and be okay and to heal. And when we continue to go on and on and on and ignore the signals that the body is sending us, eventually the signal gets louder. So it starts out as a whisper, and then it can pop up in another part of the body, it can pop up in another part of our life, and the signal will get louder and louder and louder until either we deal with it or we can't ignore it anymore. And if we get to the point where we can't ignore it anymore, usually we've gotten to a point where it's going to take a lot more work to get where we need to go. It's going to be a lot harder for the body to get itself into a place of healing if we've gotten to the point where it's so bad that we cannot ignore it anymore. God never said you had to heal alone. He wants to walk with those who are willing. So take what speaks to you from this list and leave the rest for another season. But know this, you are worth rebuilding. You who were made in the image of God. You were created for more than just making it through. So friends, I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for taking a piece of your precious day to spend it here with me. I love you and I honor you. And I appreciate you. And Lord willing, I will see each and every one of you beautiful and precious souls right here on the next one. Bye, friends.